It's that time of the year when we get another set to add to our collections from one of the most popular series, LEGO Modular Buildings. Some parts surprised me, others maybe not as much. So let's go through the build from start to finish to see how this stacks up and see whether it earns a bronze, silver, or gold for the building experience. I've got to say, I was pretty excited when I first saw the design. We're getting something tall and it has that premium feel right away. And a lot of you are going to love this. We do not have any stickers here, which is always very appreciated in any LEGO build. Alright, so these always start out with a foundation layer, and it's kind of like putting together a puzzle or even a piece of art. We get to see how things line up and get a sense of what we're working with. And as things start to shape up, we've got a pattern here in the sidewalk that breaks things up nicely, and it looks like both buildings have wood-like flooring throughout. And look at this, I thought this part was interesting. It looks like there's some sort of water leak in the middle here. It kind of surprised me what it turned into later, and we'll get to that here in a bit. I also liked this curved area in the back of one of the buildings. It's cool how they can break things up. Okay, moving on, we get our first look at one of our buildings, and I've got to say, it hits you with some complex techniques right off the bat. Check out how these stairs are put together. We actually build them sideways and connect them to the side of a pole, which is a pretty interesting way to shape things up, and it allows us to get this striping down the middle. The character of this building started to come to life when I assembled the musical instruments to put up for display, which means that we're looking at a music shop. And that's a fun idea to have in your downtown setup. These instruments are intricate and it feels like assembling a little diorama, which fans of this series are more than used to. The exterior comes together nicely with these fancy printed narrow windows, along with these little red awnings and gold trimmings throughout, which makes sense for a music store given the trumpet logo above the door. This is my favorite part. Check out this Brickley sign on a curved window piece here in the corner of the building. I'm so glad that I didn't need to apply a sticker here, and it looks awesome. I also enjoy this. It's cool to assemble this building in an angular format rather than building a large square or a rectangle. And so far, it's an interesting first floor, but let's see what we have on the other side. Oh, before we get to the other building, remember that water leak that we had earlier? It turns out that we're building a sewer walkway between the two buildings. It's another section that uses a sideways technique, and it adds some elevation to the ground floor, which is pretty cool. Now, this other building is all about furniture, and I took my time putting together these tiny little chairs and tables to put them up for display. It looks like they'll be up for sale anytime soon, so let's get these walls up. Nothing too crazy here, but we do get plenty of windows, and I'm still enjoying this angular shape. To pair up with the music store next door, this shop is all about selling fancy furniture, as you can see from the fixtures by the entrance, along with the fancy furniture sign up top. Oh, and we even get a selection of fabrics hanging on one of the walls, so it looks like customers can do a bit of customization with their orders. As with most modulars, the back of the buildings don't typically have anything mind-boggling going on, and in this case, we have a big blue dumpster and some flowers, but we do get a mouse hanging out here, which ties into another part of building later on. The first floors of both buildings are looking pretty good so far, so let's see what we have in store for the upper portions. Okay, as with any modular, building out the layout for the second floor is a nice change of pace, and it's another opportunity to give us a preview of what's coming next. And as we can see here, it looks like both buildings will be connected, so that's pretty cool. On the second floor of the music store, we have a repetitive build of the staircase from down below. It makes sense though, given that the two floors are connected, so nothing to complain about here, just something to keep in mind, and at least it's a cool technique. And it does have this fancy vine work on the outside of the building to break things up, along with a mailbox by the window, which is kind of weird, but I guess we're going back to carrier pigeons in this district. Pretty surprising to see this, but I guess it's kind of cool. This floor has more intricately built instruments, but this time it looks like the theme is more about percussion compared to the brass instruments we saw downstairs. These give the build a nice break from building structure and foundation, and it draws our attention to the point of this floor, which is selling musical instruments. Now, I'm not sure what's going on here. Maybe it's some sort of Easter egg, but we have a letter sitting on top of a music stand on a fancy rug. I guess we'll have to just use our imaginations. And the balcony area brings a sense of interest with this curved design and a flower sitting on the railing. It's a nice spot for customers to check out the city. Okay, let's move over to the second floor of the furniture store, and this is where all the magic happens and our shop owner constructs the furniture for display downstairs. It's always neat to see how two floors can work together so well. Not only do we have a selection of different wood materials here on the side, but we get a table that has a vise to hold the wood planks in place as the owner assembles their next piece. And it looks like we get an Easter egg over by the window with this crafted wooden duck toy to give the furniture builder a bit of a creative break. And I would say that the pacing still feels pretty good, which is what you usually get from modular buildings. The exterior was interesting on both sides. For the building on the left, we get this huge window with a fancy curved design near the top, compared to the smaller windows on the furniture store next door. They both have their own sense of fancy architecture, and they both get an arrangement of foliage sitting outside the windows. With these two floors, I definitely had a feeling of accomplishment and still wanted to keep going. I mean, let me tell you, this line of Lego is addicting, so watch out for that if you're new to this. Moving up to the third floor of the music store, we've got this tiled section which we don't always see past the first floor. In this case, it makes sense because it's for the bathroom portion of this living space for the shop owner. Nothing really innovative or crazy happening up here, but the space does look cozy as always, and it does have a fancy chair that they probably bought from next door. And for those of you that follow Lego closely, there is a cool little Easter egg of a Lego retro radio from a few years back. And since I'm sharing my building experience, of course I want to be honest, I will say that the build did feel pretty repetitive at this point, with nothing really new brought to the experience, but I will say that these bookshelves were nice and the room does at least look complete. This exterior door on the third floor did intrigue me quite a bit, and we'll get there in a second. Let's first finish the roof, which brought some very interesting techniques. This is cool. The alternating pattern of these dark blue angled pieces gave such a satisfying finish and texture to the design, and the small windows break things up as well. And our little mouse friend from earlier has a hangout spot up in the attic, so he definitely gets around the space. It's a nice piece of storytelling. And for those that appreciate complexity in builds, we get so many techniques here on the rooftop portion, and it looks very good overall. It's a bit tedious on the fingers, but at least the payoff is there. We also have a little bell tower at the very top with some micro-scale minifigures tucked in. I would say that it ties everything together, but we're not finished yet. We still have another rooftop section to complete from the walkway that we had from before. You know, going into this build, I didn't take a look at the box, I just kind of jumped right in, so I wasn't expecting much with this rooftop piece, but I ended up being pleasantly surprised. It kicked off with a small garden area, which is simple but looks good, and then I was hit with this birdhouse structure. It came together nicely and was a nice addition to this rooftop area. It adds a lot of character. Bundle in a water faucet with some wildlife, and there's more going on here than I was expecting. The design and architecture of the roof also came together nicely with some more interesting techniques that kept me engaged the whole way. There's even a pulley system to move furniture down from the second floor, but I was disappointed that it isn't functional. Kind of a letdown. Other modulars in the past have had this, so it was a bummer that we don't get that here. Another staple of modulars are the street level details, and for this one, they're pretty basic. We get a small fire hydrant, a street light, and a tiny cat fountain up front. It was a bit bare bones, and I would have loved to see a build of a special tree or a fancy bench, just something additional here. At this point, I was expecting more with the build and surprised that it was finished. The minifigures were pretty standard and nothing too noteworthy, but as always, they were nice to have a break in between each bag. I'm a bit torn on ranking the build, to be honest. I love modulars, so the biased part of me wants to give it a gold right away, but I did feel a bit underwhelmed with the third floor living space. The accessories didn't have a wow moment, and the street level details were pretty basic, especially compared to recent modular releases. I'm not ranking the design here. I need some time to let it sink in, and we'll make another video for that, and I definitely have some thoughts on it, but I was satisfied with the overall build experience, and that's what this video is for. If you're a seasoned modular building fan, then this building experience probably sits at a silver tier level compared to others. But for those that are new to the space, and if I compare the build to other LEGO builds in general, I think it sits in a gold tier from my personal experience with this thing. They usually are a gold experience and are some of the best sets that you can build. Is it the best modular ever made? No, definitely not, but these are always a blast to put together. If you love modulars, I mean, this is still going to be a relaxing and enjoyable experience, but I would not recommend this as your first one. Instead, I'd go for Tudor Corner or the Natural History Museum. They're better experiences overall and would be great for starting off with. Now, if you want to decide for yourself, as you should, check out every modular, and I mean every one. I made a video where I ranked all of them so you can see which ones you'd be interested in. Thank you for checking out the build with me, and until next time, I will catch you in the next one.